Welcome to Thinking Man Games. I'm Tristan.
And I'm Gabe.
And this week's topic, it's just something that's been in my mind for a long time, is the position of the Vita, just in the general gaming landscape right now. What do you think about it?
Well, I was I wouldn't say I was down on it, but I was really critical of, not the device itself, but the, position of it within the market. Pretty consistently since about like a month after the system launched until a couple weeks ago, when they finally announced the price was being cut to $200 for the Wi-Fi version. I believe they're discontinuing the 3G version. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I have no idea.
Because it's a freaking stupid idea. Like, I don't even think you can play games on the 3G one. Like, use the online multiplayer. But anyway, originally, I was really down on it, kind of because of that. I thought the price was too high for it to sell effectively, and because of that, it wasn't going to get a good pipeline of games. And those two things need to both happen. We talked about this with Nintendo, and I'm sure we'll come back to them because they're doing something similar now. But with the price drop now, and finally some games coming out, it has a chance, I think, again, to kind of get a different market than we expected. We knew it would be getting these kind of console-light experiences, we'll call them, where, a game like Uncharted made it to the system, which is great. Golden Abyss is really good. And even some, cross-play games like PlayStation All-Stars and Sly, those types of games. But, I don't think anyone really expected the kind of, indie support it would be getting.
And that's crazy. Just recently, that's kind of what made me think about it again. Like, they keep announcing stuff for the Vita, mostly indie stuff. Which as someone that owns a Vita, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You have a Vita too, right?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah, okay. As someone that owns one, that's amazing, and you can make the argument they're not system sellers, but I would say that most people that have a Vita are pretty satisfied with the device itself, and somewhat satisfied. It varies on the library.
Yeah. And I don't remember the exact number they gave for the total number of games that the Vita has sold. They mentioned it during E3.
I think it's 10 per or something like that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit below that, I think. But I think I bought 8 games.
I have a ton from PlayStation Plus, and that's pretty much why I have.
And I'm sure once PS4 comes out and I need it for online, my library will be built up that way too. But yeah, that's the thing. For people who already have a Vita, I don't think any of them are too upset. I'd like a better pipeline of games, like retail games, but there's been a lot of indie stuff, especially stuff that has been released simultaneously on the PS3 and the Vita, and of course that doesn't give a reason for someone to buy a Vita if they can play it on the system they most likely have. But yeah, it's kind of funny. I played Dragon's Crown on the Vita, and I've heard some people say it's better on the PS3. Personally, I loved it on the Vita. There weren't really there were a couple little frame rate hiccups, but besides that, the game looked just as good, and the touching to find, hidden objects, I think is way easier than it would be to use an analog stick to do the same thing. But besides that, I feel like some of the bigger, franchises haven't really reached their potential with their, Vita games, and it's kind of a shame because I think unless these, decisions that Sony's making now are effective, the number of big franchises that make Vita games is just going to go down. I thought Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation was a pretty big disappointment.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that game.
I just thought it did a lot of stuff wrong compared to 3, the console game, which I'm still not crazy about. Resistance Burning Skies was meh. Call of Duty was awful.
I haven't played either of those.
I'm going by what critics have said for Call of Duty, but I reviewed Burning Skies, and it was that's what I was kind of thinking. It was a shoulder shrug.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Borderlands 2 is coming to Vita, right?
Yeah.
And so hopefully there's more of a if they can do that right. Hopefully it's not just a terrible port, which I don't think it will, but obviously it has to be toned down in some way. But I'm
maybe
hoping
not
that shows
the art style.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm hoping that it shows that first-person shooters can be done on the Vita well.
Oh yeah. And
I'm trying to think of anything else what other first-person shooters come out for the Vita, other than the two you mentioned earlier.
I can't talk about it, but but so and by the time this goes up, it will be irrelevant that I said that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I don't know. It's interesting, like, looking down the pipeline, what we see. And Greg Miller asked, like, what games would you like to see? And obviously, I'd like to either see a port of Bioshock Infinite, which, with that stylized style, I think, will be the same sort of thing,
mm-hmm.
or maybe an original Bioshock game, although obviously that'll have to allocate resources.
Yeah.
And if it's not Ken Levine doing it, I'm not sure I want that. But besides that, I mentioned, some of the Tom Clancy series I'd like to see on there. I mentioned Ghost Recon and Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell specifically, the new type of Splinter Cell would work really well because besides the gadgets, like the mark and execute function, just quickly tapping people's heads, I think that would actually be easier than how it is now, which is kind of aiming with your thumbstick and hitting the RB to mark targets to take out. But besides that, I really don't know. There aren't too many franchises that I'm sitting here thinking there's a reason that that should be on the next gen. I thought maybe Devil May Cry, but they'd have to remap some stuff. Like dodge would have to probably become a swipe of the rear touchpad, so that might be kind of weird.
Yeah.
The ones we've already seen, obviously, are probably shoo-ins. I think God of War should definitely get one. Those were some of the best games on the PSP. The Ghosts of
Sparta and
Chains of Olympus.
Yeah. I was thinking that I would like ports of Borderlands. It's cool, but I'm the kind of guy that if it's on PS3 and Vita, I'm gonna get the PS3 version, mostly because I just don't carry my Vita around with me anyways, and I play it at home for the most part. Yep. I don't know if I'm an outlier on that, but so I would like to see original games. Obviously, what I want isn't what's going to happen, but I think there's good examples from the PSP, which was also in itself kind of a niche system or handheld, and it had God of War, like you mentioned, were good games in the series, and then Siphon Filter. I really enjoyed that game on PSP. I forgot what's it called. I don't know what it's called.
Dark Mirror, I think, something like that.
There were two on PSP, I think.
The only reason why I ever knew about that series is because its protagonist is named Gabe, and I'm really happy.
And then there was also Resistance,
Retribution,
which I think that might be my favorite PSP game, which was developed by the same guys that did Siphon Filter, which was Sony Bend. So I want to see Sony Bend also did Uncharted.
Yep. Yeah, they've had a really good success since they stopped doing Siphon Filter with taking IPs that Sony's already had and making the portable games of them. It's just I'm assuming they're working on the second one for the Vita. The thing is, it's weird. You want to allocate your resources properly, and you think, if we're going to do this awesome story, why not just put it onto the PS4? And I think that's kind of a problem that some people run into, even with Golden Abyss, which is for the longest time I thought was the best Vita game. The story in it was really throwaway. The whole point of playing that game was to see, oh my gosh, I'm playing Uncharted on my Vita and it looks good. God of War kind of avoided that by going into some prequel territory.
I was going to say, I don't think it needs to have a good story. I mean, I would appreciate it,
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. It's kind of the handheld buffer, or plus effect, I guess. You kind of automatically rate handheld games a little bit, or you're a little more lenient on them, a little bit easier on their plot problems. Yeah. And I'm not sure if I think we're ever going to get past the point we're at now if we keep doing that. And from a business perspective, it's a rock and a hard place for Sony. It's not like that with Nintendo, where they have such a good selling 3DS that they can keep putting tons and tons and tons of big names making handheld games. With Sony, it's thinking I'm trying to think of a good example right now. Not like Drive Club. Oh, Killzone, Infamous Second Son, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
They could have made a game like that on the Vita. Obviously, there's the destruction and that stuff wouldn't be nearly as good.
Yeah.
But why do that when you can put it on the PS4, which is gonna, get a huge audience right off the bat? It just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. I'm just.
Especially, I guess that's why we don't make the decisions, but,
Yeah.
But it is, when you think about it, why wouldn't you put it on, especially when the Vita itself is not doing very well, in the large scheme of things.
And Sony has more of a dog in the fight, and, they might try a little harder for their first party titles to make that work. But for a company, you know, like a Ubisoft or an EA, or Capcom even, or Activision, or any of them.
Anybody.
What did I say?
No, I said anybody. Just anybody.
Really, anyone who's publishing it. Like, why would they devote those resources to this really small install base when they could make, you know, a side story that has some of the same mechanics and focus most of their efforts on the one, you know, who's going to sell millions and millions and millions. And it's tough. It's like, maybe that's why Sony's going the more of the indie route. And I'd be kind of bummed if that's all they went to do, because
definitely,
because there's so much potential on that handheld. Now, the thing is, even with all that, it doesn't mean that the handheld is a perfect, you know, they call it console quality on the go. Well, not exactly, because like the handheld would be chunky, and I don't know how they do it, but there's still not two bumpers on either side, and you can't click in the thumbsticks. And as minor as that seems, it's not like you just take a Call of Duty or an Uncharted or whatever, and you're just playing it in the palm of your hands. You have to adjust to the control differences. Sometimes it's a good thing. In Uncharted, I loved the fact that because of like the smaller thumbsticks and you're holding it in your hand, that you can just slightly move the system and aim that way. But other things, it's just kind of like not even shoehorning in touch support or whatever, or movement support, but they don't have a choice. And I think this is more so for franchises that are existing and then get moved on.
That's what I was going to say.
Like Gravity Rush doesn't have that issue.
I was just about to say Gravity Rush wouldn't really have that, because it's not like they're trying to take a game that's been on consoles and then fit it onto the Vita.
Right.
Gravity Rush is a great game, by the way.
It is. Combat's a little frustrating, but the game itself, like the exploration, I just like doing a lot.
I love that world.
It's like Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
You don't do any missions, you just fly around.
Yeah. But the Vita, strange place. I love my Vita. I think it was well worth it getting it.
Whenever I pull it back out again, I'm in love with it. You know, I love playing it, but it's just it can be months before I have a reason to pull it back out again. And lately, I have. Dragon's Crown, I think I played 17 hours of it for the review that I did at TechEdits.me, and then a couple more hours afterwards just for fun, because I loved it. It's by far, I think, the best game available on the Vita, but it's also available on the PS3, so that's not going to make it a system seller or anything. But yeah, whenever I pull it out again, I love it. It's just, I wish I was doing it more often. Same thing I say with the Wii U. Like, I giggle like a little kid when I pull out the Wii U, for the most part. But it's just, I literally have to dust it off every time I pull it out.
Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps up. It was kind of a shorter conversation, but still talked about a lot. Thanks for listening.
Conversation?
Yeah, it's a handheld conversation. It fits in your ears shorter. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think about the Vita in the comments. See you guys later.
See ya.